In the last video, we learned about distance time graphs in great detail, and we saw how useful they can be for mathematical analysis. Now in this video, we'll learn about displacement time graphs, graphs which essentially show us the dependence of displacement of an object with respect to time. So without wasting a second, let's jump right into the video. Now, as its name suggests, this graph shows the dependence of displacement of an object with respect to time. Now, clearly displacement is a dependent variable here, so we always plot it along the y-axis, while time is an independent variable, so we always plot it along the x-axis. So over here you can see a table that shows the displacement and time values for a cyclist that moves along a straight line. Now, based on this table, I want you to plot a displacement time graph that represents the motion of this cyclist. Take some time and try to get the graph correct. So, are you done? Well, I'm sure you are. Let's go ahead and see how the displacement time graph for this cyclist looks like, which by the way looks something like this. Now, this is a pretty neat graph, and based on this, you can describe the entire motion of the cyclist, which was rather difficult by just looking at the tabular data. Now, assuming that the cyclist began moving at a reference point O, and also assuming our sign convention to be right side positive and left side negative, by looking at the graph I can say that the cyclist covered a displacement of 4 meters towards the right direction in the first 1 second. Now, between 1 to 2 seconds, you can see that the value of time is changing, but the value of displacement is not changing. This means that between 1 to 2 seconds, the cyclist was not moving or the cyclist was at rest. Now, something very interesting happens between 2 to 3 seconds. You see, during this interval, the value of time increases, but the value of displacement decreases. And finally, at exactly 3 seconds, the value of displacement is 0. Zero displacement essentially means that the cyclist is back at the origin point O. So how do we interpret the motion in this interval? Well, you see, it's easy. The cyclist simply turns around at 2 seconds and begins moving backwards towards the starting point until he reaches there at 3 seconds. And finally, in the last 1 second interval, which is from 3 seconds to 4 seconds, you can see that the value of displacement becomes negative. So how do you interpret this? Well, again, it's easy. We say that the cyclist continues moving in the left direction for the last 1 second. And finally, at the 4th second, the cyclist covers a displacement of 4 meters towards the left direction. Because according to our own sign convention, negative essentially represents the left direction. So guys, this is how we can interpret the motion of any object by just observing their displacement time graphs. Now, in the last video, you remember that we talked about the concept of slope of a straight line. In a distance time graph, the slope of a straight line gives us the value of speed. In the same fashion, in a displacement time graph, the slope of a straight line gives us the value of velocity. So you already know that the formula for slope of a straight line is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. In the context of our displacement time graph, y2 minus y1 would essentially show us the change in displacement because we have displacement plotted along the y-axis, and x2 minus x1 would show us the change in time because time is plotted along the x-axis. So essentially, velocity is simply change in displacement divided by change in time, a formula that you are already familiar with. Now, based on this, I want you all to calculate the velocity of the cyclist for each of these 1 second time intervals, and I also want you to calculate the average velocity of the cyclist throughout the course of his journey. Now, I want you to take some time and get all the answers correct. Okay, time's up guys. Let's go ahead and see the answers for all these questions. So the velocity for the first 1 second time interval is 4 meters per second. Now, how do we get it? Well, we simply use the formula velocity is equal to change in displacement divided by change in time, which is nothing but y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Now, in the first 1 second time interval, you can see that the change in displacement can be written as 4 minus 0 and the change in time can be written as 1 minus 0. So from here, we directly get the value of velocity as 4 meters per second. Now, between 1 to 2 seconds, the cyclist's velocity comes out to be 0 meters per second. Now it's not surprising because we had already established that the cyclist was at rest during this time interval. But in any case, we'll use the formula of velocity as change in displacement divided by change in time, which is nothing but y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Now you can see that at t equal to 2 seconds, the value of displacement is plus 4 meters. And at the same time, at t equal to 1 seconds, the value of displacement is again plus 4 meters. So clearly, the formula becomes 4 minus 4 divided by 2 minus 1, which comes out to be 0 meters per second. So using the formula also we can see that the velocity of the cyclist was 0 or the cyclist was at rest during this time interval. Between 2 to 3 seconds, the velocity of the cyclist comes out to be minus 4 meters per second. You see, velocity is also a vector quantity and therefore it can take negative values. Now once again we use the formula velocity is equal to change in displacement divided by change in time. Now at t equal to 2 seconds, the value of displacement is plus 4 meters. But at t equal to 3 seconds, the value of displacement is 0 meters. So the formula essentially becomes 0 minus 4 divided by 3 minus 2, y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Now the value of this clearly comes out to be minus 4 meters per second. And finally, for the last 1 second interval, which is between 3 seconds to 4 seconds, the velocity comes out to be minus 4 meters per second once again. Over here, our formula essentially transforms to minus 4 minus 0 divided by 4 minus 3. Minus 4 is the final displacement, 0 is the initial displacement for this 1 second time interval, 4 is the final time, and 3 is the initial time. Now the value of this clearly comes out to be minus 4 meters per second. Now to calculate the average velocity of the cyclist throughout the course of its journey, we need to use the formula average velocity is equal to total displacement divided by total time. Now from the graph you can clearly see that the total displacement of the cyclist throughout the course of its journey from the starting till the ending is nothing but minus 4 meters, and the total time taken by him to cover this displacement is simply 4 seconds. So I can say that total displacement is minus 4 meters, total time is 4 seconds, so his average velocity comes out to be minus 1 meters per second. Now at this point, I want to discuss a couple of important takeaways. The first takeaway is that just like a straight line in a distance time graph represents uniform motion, a straight line in a displacement time graph also represents uniform velocity motion. So over here in our example, each of these 1 second intervals have a straight line present in them. So we can say that the cyclist was undergoing uniform motion in each of these 1 second time intervals. But we can also say that the cyclist's overall motion was not uniform because the velocity of the cyclist changed at multiple places. The second takeaway is that just like a straight line parallel to the x-axis in a distance time graph shows an object at rest, a straight line parallel to the x-axis in a displacement time graph also shows an object at rest. So over here in our example, you can see that between 2 to 3 seconds, we have a straight line parallel to the x-axis. And at that time, we already saw that the velocity of our cyclist came out to be 0. So just keep this in mind. A straight line parallel to the x-axis in a distance time graph as well as a displacement time graph shows an object or a particle at rest. And with that guys, let's end this video today. I hope you had a good time learning about displacement time graphs. In the next video, we'll talk about some more interesting graphs that describe the motion of an object. For now, let's summarize whatever we have learned so far. In a displacement time graph, we see the dependence of displacement on time. Therefore, we plot displacement along the y-axis because it's a dependent quantity, and we plot time along the x-axis because it's an independent quantity. For an object undergoing uniform motion, its displacement time graph is always a straight line. A straight line parallel to the x-axis in a displacement time graph shows an object at rest. The slope of a straight line in a displacement time graph gives us the value of velocity.